Some debt makes them rich, while other debt can make you rich, but they will never teach you. The less you understand on debt, the more making more. For years, you've been trained to believe that debt is always bad, and that's exactly why people stay broke. But the wealthy? They use debt like a weapon. They borrow strategically. They borrow intentionally. And most importantly, they borrow to build wealth. In this video, I'm going to expose the real difference between good debt and bad debt with examples that will change how you see money forever. Once you understand this, you will never look at borrowing the same way again, and you'll finally learn how to borrow the right way. Join the community by subscribing. Thousands of us are learning to invest smarter and build financial freedom. Misunderstanding debt is the silent financial trap that keeps millions struggling while a few quietly build massive wealth. Here's the truth. Debt isn't the enemy. Debt is a tool. And like any tool, it can build your future or destroy it. The real danger isn't the debt itself. It's using the wrong type of debt at the wrong time for the wrong reasons. There are only two types of debt you will ever face: good debt and bad debt. Good debt increases your income, builds your net worth, or grows your long-term value. Bad debt drains your money, loses value, and creates financial stress that follows you for years. Debt is simply borrowed money, nothing more, nothing less. When you go into debt, you're using money that isn't yours yet with the promise that you'll pay it back later, usually with extra money added on. That extra money is called interest, and it's the price you pay for using someone else's money now instead of waiting. At its core, debt exists because time has value. Lenders give you money today, and in exchange, they expect more money back in the future. That difference between what you borrowed and what you repay is how banks, lenders, and institutions make money. The longer you take to repay debt, and the higher the interest rate, the more that debt grows. Here's how debt really works behind the scenes. When you borrow money, you're agreeing to three main things: the amount you borrow, the interest rate, and the time period to repay it. These three factors determine how expensive the debt becomes. Borrow a small amount at low interest for a short time, and debt stays manageable. Borrow a large amount at high interest for a long time, and debt can quietly spiral out of control even if payments feel small. But debt itself is not good or bad. Debt is a tool. Just like a hammer can build a house or break a window, debt can build wealth or destroy it depending on how you use it. When debt is used to buy assets that generate income or increase your ability to earn, like education, businesses, or real estate, it can actually move you forward financially. When it's used for lifestyle spending, convenience, or emotional purchases, it works against you. The key to understanding debt is control. When debt controls your income, your choices shrink. When you control debt, your options expand. Knowing how interest works, how repayment works, and what your debt is truly costing you gives you power. And once you understand that debt is simply a financial tool, not an enemy, you can finally decide how it fits into your life instead of letting it decide for you. So what exactly counts as good debt? Good debt is the kind wealthy people use to create long-term financial growth. This includes education or skills that significantly increase your lifetime earning potential. A $10,000 tech or trade certification that leads to a $70,000 career, that's good debt. It also includes business loans that help you start or grow a business that generates more money than the loan costs. Real estate loans, like mortgages or rental properties, are another powerful form of good debt because they build equity, create cash flow, and increase in value over time. Even investment debt, when used carefully by experienced investors, can be considered good debt. Good debt is the hidden engine that wealthy families use to build stable income streams that grow every single year. Bad debt, on the other hand, is debt used to buy things that lose value and produce no income. High-interest credit card debt is one of the worst forms of bad debt. Cars you can't afford, especially new luxury vehicles that drop in value the moment you drive them off the lot, are classic bad debt. Lifestyle loans, borrowing money for vacations, shopping, holidays, or the newest phone, these create no financial return. And payday loans? They're designed to keep you trapped. Bad debt grows silently in the background, draining your money, your freedom, and your ability to build real wealth. Let's look at real-life examples. Sarah takes $15,000 in student loans to become a nurse. That's good debt. Jason takes $80,000 for a degree with no job market. That's bad debt. Lisa buys a reliable $6,000 used car. Good debt. Mark finances a $45,000 luxury SUV he can't afford. Bad debt. Michael buys a duplex, lives in one unit, and rents out the other, letting tenants pay his mortgage. Good debt. Jessica buys a giant home she can barely afford with no rental income. Bad debt. Andre uses credit cards for points and pays them off monthly. Good debt. Emily uses credit to shop and pays only the minimum. Bad debt. These real-world examples expose how tiny borrowing decisions can shape your financial future in massive and unexpected ways. But the real difference between good and bad debt starts in your psychology. Good debt thinking asks questions like, will this increase my value? Will this help me earn more? Will this build my future? Bad debt thinking says, I want it now. Everyone else has it. I'll worry about payments later. Your financial mindset determines whether debt becomes your greatest wealth-building tool or your biggest lifelong burden. To borrow the right way, follow 5 rules. Rule number 1, if it doesn't make money, don't borrow. Rule number 2, know your return on investment before taking any debt. Rule number 3, avoid high-interest debt at all costs. Rule number 4, borrow only what you can safely repay. And rule number 5, have a repayment plan before borrowing. These 5 borrowing rules can instantly transform your financial life and put you on the path to real wealth. Here's how the wealthy think about debt. They borrow to acquire assets. Assets that generate income, assets that grow in value, assets that create long-term stability. Meanwhile, most people borrow to acquire liabilities, things that lose value and drain money. The wealthy borrow to grow richer, the poor borrow to look richer, and that mistake costs decades. Debt is not the enemy. Knowledge is power. Strategy is the difference. Good debt builds you. Bad debt breaks you. Borrow the right way and your entire future changes. If this helped you understand debt better, like the video, subscribe, and drop a comment. Do you think debt is good or bad? I'll reply to the first 50 comments.